Hey everyone, welcome to the class tonight. And we're always told that prayer changes things. And we're told thoughts and prayers, right? All of this. But very rarely does anyone ever say, how do you do it? So we thought we would just
Mm.
talk about that a little bit tonight in the class.
Yeah, exactly.
For those of you who are new to it, my name is Dr. Asad Bear, and this is my co-teacher here, Leah Schaefer.
Welcome, everyone.
And we come from Sufism. We teach heart rhythm meditation, and so one of the things that comes up if we ever talk about prayer, it's like, what is prayer, and especially what's the difference between prayer and meditation? And I just think, like, when you're doing prayer, you are in a communication with a higher being. You know. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I think. What do you think of, Leah?
Yeah, it's honestly hard for me to differentiate. When I first started doing meditation, I always thought, okay, well, when I'm praying, I'm talking to God, and then when I'm meditating, I'm listening. but
Interesting.
um,
Yeah.
but nowadays they feel very, very connected to me. But
Mm,
it does feel like when I'm praying, I'm literally asking for something very specific. Um,
mhm,
or if I'm saying a prayer, one of the prayers that are pre-written out, then I'm attuning myself. I'm attuning myself in a way that is still asking for presence, is still asking for presence to come into my consciousness, into my heart. And meditation, to me, it's kind of similar. Um, I am invoking a specific energy when I meditate, so it's kind of similar in that way.
mhm.
But I don't know. Maybe in meditation, I feel like I'm becoming the conduit of what I'm asking for, and in prayer, I'm not necessarily being the conduit. I don't. I. It's hard. It's to me. It's very connect. They're very connected to me.
Our friend Shocker is here, just saying hello. Good to see you.
Hello,
Nice to
welcome. We're happy
nice to
that you're here.
join us. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I think it's like, are you specifically consciously in dialogue with a higher power when you're meditating? You might be, right? I mean, if that's your outlook, but maybe not. Sometimes meditation is framed in a very impersonal kind of way, right? And it's not, you know, um, it doesn't involve God, right? Like in its teachings or in its focus. But when you say prayer, God's always involved, right?
Right.
Because who are you praying to, right? You're praying to God, and you're praying to a personal view of the divine being, right? I mean, because prayer has that, at least I think in Western thought, right? That's the when you say when you use the word prayer,
Mhm.
you're it's a personal view of God rather than an impersonal view. God is a being,
Mhm.
not a force or something. You know, uh,
Mhm.
and I think that is, like you use this word attunement, a lovely word, right? The things that we do tune us to a certain frequency, and prayer does that, right? It tunes us in a certain way. um,
Mhm.
we,
Yeah.
um, we also have our friend, our
My
producer,
prayer.
saying, my prayers are
My
mostly
prayers.
driving back and forth from home. Well,
Yeah.
we want you to be safe,
Yeah.
you know
Well, okay, so here's a good example. So Asatar, help me out here.
or the divine feminine.
Um
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So okay, here we go. So if I pray, if I'm like, okay, you know what? Please help me get home safely. Okay. So I could do that. Or I could say Yavakil, which or Ya Hafiz, right? Which is like basically saying, please come this quality, which is protection.
Mm.
within the Sufi tradition. So so then help me out here. How's that different?
I think it's funny to be focused on that, right? Like to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's so important to know what the differences are," right? Like,
I'm sorry. I'm just so curious what you have to say about
I
it.
don't know if it is. I don't know if
Yeah.
it is, but in Sufism, right, there are these what Leah is referring to, of course, is these are called a wazifa. It's an invocation of one of the names of God, right? So she mentioned Yavakil, and Yavakil, the attribute of divine protection. So when we're calling upon that, are we praying? Are we meditating? Um, is there a communication? Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I think that is, um, you know, um, vakio. Yeah, we were cautioned never to do yavakio for ourselves, but for others in danger. Um,
Interesting.
I think you can do it for yourself for sure. Yeah, you can
Mm.
ask for protection for yourself, or you can invoke that. Um,
Mhm.
I think you could do either one. Um, what does it mean to do this? You are in a meditation on that quality, and by recognizing it as a divine quality, I mean you're casting God in the image of a person, right? um,
Mm.
and saying the perfection of the qualities that we understand as human beings, the perfection of those qualities is in God. Um,
Mm.
so I
Yeah.
don't know. Does this nail it down? I hardly.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad we cleared that
I don't.
up. Anyway, moving on. So,
When we pray, do we move right to the thing that we want? This is the thing that
mm,
I always think about.
mm,
It's like,
mhm.
please, God, please, I'm looking for this, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the Sufis, and particularly Hazrat Inayat Khan, right? Hazrat Inayat Khan is, the touchstone in our Sufi lineage, and it. So Hazrat Inayat Khan had a very interesting take on this. He said, the first step of prayer, the first stage of prayer, should always be to express gratitude, to say thank you, to thank God. Um,
Mm,
so And I think that's so beautiful, that it really
mhm.
changes our outlook. Because when we ask for something, we're focused on what we lack, you know? When we say thank you, we're focused on what we have, you know? And
Yeah.
I think that really changes things to start with that. Thank you, because even when you're in a very difficult situation, there's always something to be thankful for. And, it's a good
Mhm.
effort to make, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
changes your outlook.
Right. And it actually attunes you with the divine quickly. Gratitude is something that attunes you with the divine quickly.
Yeah,
Mm.
because you're acknowledging, okay, there's a being which is greater, and that I
Mm.
think of as sustaining me, as creating me, as giving something to me.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
that is interesting,
Yeah.
right? That creates this proper kind of understanding here, right? That we're not, and also I think it's good to move a kind of away from a bargaining kind of view, like, listen, God, if you do this for me, and I'll do this for you, or, that kind of aspect of it. Um, which I don't think of as very prayerful, right?
Mm.
That's more like a
Yeah.
negotiation thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
I don't think we're negotiating, right? Well, what if we start by saying thank you? What is that? And then, as what Anand says, then we move to a step that's maybe more difficult, where we ask for forgiveness and we acknowledge all of the different ways that we've fallen short. Um,
Mhm.
And that's interesting too, because what are we asking for forgiveness for? What in what sense is that meant? You know,
Mhm.
it's easy to fall back on this kind of traditional view of religion that says like religion is about it's about rules, and if you break the rules, you've sinned and stuff like this, right? And that's not a view that really resonates with me very much spiritually, you know.
Yeah, no.
But I
Mm-mm.
do
No.
resonate with like I have aspirations for myself. I think of myself in a certain way. I want to be a certain kind of person, and that when I fall short of that, it's painful, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
And then I do feel
Yeah,
sorry
absolutely.
for that, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I want to acknowledge that. I want to be seen as like, I fell short and I want to do
Yeah.
better, and
Yeah.
you know,
And that feels like such a surrender, like that's like such a moment of surrender. It's
yeah,
it's it's very vulnerable. And it's a sense of like understanding my own limitations.
yeah,
And understanding like, in the spectrum of the life of the one universal life force, I am a child. I am making mistakes, so
yeah,
um there's something about like that humility that I think again brings me it what brings myself even deeper into my heart. And to ask for forgiveness is to love ourselves at the same time. It's like, do you know
mm,
what I mean? Because it's like,
yeah,
I'm like, to ask for it would be like to say I'm worthy of even receiving love on this spectrum, that there is
mm,
such a thing as unconditional love, and I'm worthy enough to receive that energy. And that's a very deep surrender, you know.
yeah. Well, that's a beautiful insight. Yeah, to just to put yourself in that place, to acknowledge that. Um, yeah, that and this opens us up, right? I mean, it opens us up, and then it conditions the thing that comes next, right? The thing that comes next is, well, what is the wish of our hearts? What is the thing that
Yeah.
we're asking for?
That's the fun part.
Right. That's it's so fun. We want to
Sorry.
skip right to that.
Sorry. but
Give me what I
but
want,
it
please.
just give me what I want. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. No, but it is that, like, it is setting the stage for that. It's like bringing us the gratitude, like you, and then going deeper into our heart is setting the stage to really ask for something like sincerely, to be able to sincerely ask for what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to sincerely ask? You know, what is the sincere part of it versus like an insincere kind of ask, right? What does that mean?
For me, it means the inner feeling is awake. So it means that
Mm,
the my inner heart connection, or my deep longing within my soul, is alive in the asking, is resonant in the asking. In other
mm,
words, I'm not stuck in my head. I'm not asking from a mental place. I'm asking from an inner feeling awoken within me.
mm.
That's
Yeah,
that's how I feel it. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So it's like we need some preparation to get to that point,
Yeah.
to Hazrat Khan talks about sincerity as a kind of spiritual maturity. It was like when we when we're sincere, we're coming from that place, right? Openness and maturity, and that
Hmm.
maybe we're not there right away. Maybe we have to go through a process to get there. To
Yeah.
even get to the point where we can really sincerely ask,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I get
understand
that.
what is it we're asking for.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
to just kind of rush right there, right? We're not in the proper mindset, perhaps. We're not in the we
Mhm.
haven't really gone deep and
Yeah.
gone into that place, you know. Um, so then it's more interesting, right? Because there's more stages after this, right? It says the next stage is communion with God. And I love that because it's like, what is communion? You know, communion is this very
Mhm.
deep dialogue, you know, where the exchange, I mean, when you think about communing with another person, right, it's like you're just really getting close, right? You really It's a very deep communication, and communication is always both speaking and listening, you know, it's not
Mhm.
just that, right? It's feeling. I mean, think about how much communication we do just on a vibrational level, right? Where we feel the
Yeah.
energy of another person, and we express our energy, you know? And what does
Mm.
it mean to enter into that kind of communication, that kind of communion with God, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like to it helps me to think about it as like going from feeling separate to feeling connected.
Yeah,
That it helps me to kind of organize it in my mind. But
yeah,
yeah, to feel deep connection that I'm not just asking out into the void. Maybe when I'm asking, I am asking into a void. But then like this further step that you're describing to me, it's like then I'm actually making that connection. Like I'm almost like relishing like the love or the longing or the connection that I feel with that which I'm asking of, the universal
yeah,
life, God.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, and then there's the fifth stage, which is unity.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the mystical journey, you know, there's a wonderful word in Christianity for this, which is apotheosis, the becoming God. You know, um,
Mm. Mm.
amazing word, right? I love that we have a kind of word, you know, that comes out
Mm.
of this tradition, and Sufism, of course, is full of the same exact concept. You know that the human being can enter a state of unity with the divine, where there ceases to be a separation, um,
Mm.
where it becomes possible to say, "I am the divine being." And I mean, what a thing to say! What an experience to have! And you know, of course, this is written about and spoken about and practiced and taught in all of the mystical traditions. So you know, not just in Sufism or Christianity, but you know, in all of them. So it's you know, a very universal kind of teaching.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing to think about because, when I was growing up, I grew up Catholic, and I remember going to the church and like those like things would go down so that you could kneel, right? Like those like
Yeah.
cushion things. And I were in the pews. And I remember kneeling on those regularly and praying. But then I would just get up afterward. And like I would pray and pray. And then I would get up afterwards and just sit there and be like in the church and like just kind of like, okay, I did it. Check. You know what I mean? Like this kind of like
Mm,
feeling. But then if you're actually going into the almost like a reverence, energy after you ask, there's something really beautiful about that. For some reason, I'm thinking about this is I hope that this isn't too out of context for anyone, but for some reason I'm thinking about like, if you ask your beloved for a kiss, for example, and then you get the kiss and like then the connection happens or the commune happens. So you ask for it, then you get the
mm,
kiss. And then
mm,
if the kiss continues, then you lose yourself in the intimacy with that person.
Mm,
or you have that possibility of losing yourself in the intimacy with that person. And so there's something like so profoundly intimate about this description, and how there's almost like a reverence and a relishing of the what we're asking for,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah, and it's quite beautiful, in that way, and I just think, we're at this moment where we really need prayer, I mean,
Mhm.
we have this terrible, violence going on in the Middle East, this terrible oppression, and we all, I think, struggle, I mean, with the sense, I mean, the world is watching, right? And we struggle with a sense of
Yeah.
helplessness and, um, just the pain and sadness of that, and I think this is
Hmm.
true regardless of even what side, apart from sides, right? There's a kind of a universal, aspect to that, that horror combined with apathy, that,
Yeah.
um, I mean, not apathy, but or just disempowerment, or that sense of like,
Yes.
what does one do
Helpless.
with, yeah, that
Yeah.
helplessness.
There is a feeling of helplessness. I feel that
Yeah,
deeply, like of yeah, and it feels like I feel like there's so much depression around this happening.
yeah. And so, I mean, I think that's what brought us to this teaching for tonight, to explore this together and then try to experience some of this as much as we can, and see where it takes us, and does it lift our hearts, does it give us, an experience here that is helpful.
Mm.
So
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for leading us through those 5 steps. How should we go about this, Asatar? We didn't even really talk.
we plan to wing it. That's what we planned, I think.
I just kind of realized. I just realized. Well, I'll do the first 2 steps,
All right, go
and
ahead.
we'll go.
We'll go from there. That's a great idea.
Okay. Okay. Um, let me attune myself a bit here. So just we'll start the way that we start to meditate because it's very helpful. And so just start by deepening your breath. Slow, full, rhythmic breathing. And then bowing your head slightly to dive into your heart and connect with your own heart. Try to feel your heart as you breathe. And everybody thinks the heart's a little bit to the left, but it's pretty center actually. Barely, barely to the left. So find your heart, connect to your heart. Now, if it helps you to bring your hands to your heart or bring your hands into a prayer position, you're welcome to do that. I personally like to do the hand to the heart because it really helps me go deeper into my heart. But finding what's true for you. Mm, And I want to encourage you to continue to do your deep, full breathing just so that you can help yourself attune deeper and deeper throughout the prayer. And it's important to drop into your heart even now because we want to move from the head into the heart where the divine resides within us. It's everywhere. The divine is everywhere. but it's especially accumulated in the heart. And so we want to go all the way into our hearts, and we want to make that journey from our head to our heart and let our heart do all of the speaking throughout our prayer. And already this is a surrender. Already it's a bowing of our head. It is a dropping in. And we'll start with the gratitude. So listen to your heart. What are you grateful for in your life right now? And see if you can hear your heart give you that answer of what you're grateful for. And as you hear your heart give you your answer of what you're grateful for, breathe with that. Feel the gratitude build in your heart with each breath. Almost like you're filling yourself up with knowing, remembering how much is living in your heart, how much gratitude, how much love is already there. And then as you're ready, thank God. Thanks, God. Thank the one life. Thank the universe. It's truly and sincerely for what you feel in your heart that you are grateful for today. Maybe even have the feeling like your heartbeat is saying thank you to God, to the one. Maybe more things come to your mind as you breathe with this gratitude, as you breathe with your heart. And I'm placing thank you on my heartbeat. I'm just repeating thank you again and again. And more things start coming up from my heart, more things, people that I'm grateful for. And it starts to echo, starts to expound on itself. And so that happens for you. Let yourself feel how many blessings are already present in your life. There's so many trivial things I can get caught up on, but when it comes down to it, I'm just so, so grateful for the deeper parts, the deeper chords of reality in my life. What really matters. And then let's go into the second step. So the second step will be to acknowledge our follies and ask for forgiveness. And I want us to start by just, as you connect with your heart, can you believe that you're worthy of unconditional love? Are you able to feel in your heart that you're actually worthy of God's love, or of the universal, omnipotent, unconditional love that comes with forgiveness? And if your heart is struggling with that, breathe with your heart. Be brave, reach for some courage. Because you, everyone that does not open up to this energy, we are just clogging our own system. We are just cutting our own self off from the love that's available. The love, capital L, love. The forgiveness that's available to us if we just open to it. So don't let your heart be shut off from that, not for another minute. Let yourself drop into the vulnerability of your own self. Let yourself drop into your own humanity. We all make mistakes, we all fail. If there's something you want to offer up tonight, offer it from your heart. In some ways, it can feel like I'm not worthy of it. I'm not worthy of the forgiveness. But that is me staying separate from the love of the one, the love of God. You know, for myself, it's like sometimes it can even feel like I need forgiveness that I'm not doing more, that I'm not doing more to be helpful, that I feel helpless in a certain way and I don't know what to do on it. And there's something that feels so limited about that, so limiting. And I feel how limited I am, and I feel my humanness. And I have to believe, I don't have to, but I choose. I choose to believe that there is a bigger force than me that I can't comprehend, that I don't understand. And I choose to surrender to that in such a way that I could ask for forgiveness for my humanness, for my limitations, for my follies and my faults. my failures. And I can feel my heart open and melt as I do. So let that heart of yours open and melt as you ask for forgiveness, to let the love in, to let God's love, the unconditional pouring of presence, the unconditional pouring of love, let it move through your heart as you breathe. Opening ourselves back up, asking for forgiveness. This feeling of thou, not I. Thou, not I. I'm going to pass it over to Asatar now to keep us going through the next steps.
Beautiful attunement, Leah. Thank you. So, having prepared the ground with creating a good foundation through our breath, working on making the breath deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered, and full. And having worked with gratitude, so much gratitude for all that we have received, great or small. And for me, the thing that came up there is just to be able to live in a house that is not a pile of rubble, that is not under threat of being bombed, to not have my friends and neighbors killed, wounded, to not suffer the uncertainty of living in that environment as the people of Gaza are in this moment. And I went into my mind and said, imagine living in that and then being released from that uncertainty, how good that would feel. And here I go through my life just taking it for granted. And I feel so grateful for not being subject to all of that suffering. But, where one person suffers, we all feel it. So there's an acknowledgement there too that we are all connected, that in fact we're all one. And then when it comes to asking forgiveness, I think of all the ways that I check out, that I avoid things, that I don't want to see, that I don't want to feel what is going on and the suffering, that I want to distract myself from it. And there's so many opportunities for that. And perhaps that resonates with some of you, that and you also feel like just avoiding the world sometimes, and especially when it feels like there's so much suffering, to acknowledge that I've done that and to say that is not how I wish to be, that is not my best self there. And I seek to do better. And having conditioned our hearts, just as we have balanced the breath, made our breath rhythmic, same number of beats on the inhalation as on the exhalation. Deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered. But now we come to the sacred wish of our hearts. I would so love to live in a world in which no one is being bombed, in which all people have meaningful employment, in which all people have enough food to eat, can see a doctor if they need to, without worrying that it will financially ruin them, that everyone has a safe and decent place to live, that we stop causing millions of people to suffer so that a few people can be rich. And of course, given that we have this horrible rain of bombs and military violence against a captive group of people in Gaza, that end immediately. We have a ceasefire, we have an end to the violence. That we move toward a solution that will work in the future through courage and trust and faith, not fear, not demonization, not denial of the other side's humanity. And I know that in expressing this wish, it feels so big. The wish feels so big. When we ask for a lot, there's a kind of moment of trembling, a moment of fear where we say, is that too much? Maybe I'm asking for a lot here. Is that too much to ask for? But even the vastness offers an opportunity because the vastness of the ask puts us into a vast space, space of endless possibility. a space where we begin to enter this communion with God, just as when you speak with someone, spend time in their energy, and you observe, you listen to their energy, even as you speak yourself. And so, speaking and listening, the perception and the expression enter into many subtle levels to praise, to enter a dialogue. And when we enter a dialogue, we assume that the other one is like us. And so here I am expressing a desire. And then I have a curiosity. What is God's desire? And this expanded place within my heart, this place of possibility, this place where I can make this very big ask, where I can be vulnerable and express the desire for something that seems so far away, where I raise the question, is it possible? Yet in this vast space in my heart, it feels like everything is possible. And I know that for me, that sense, that feeling of possibility is such a balm to my spirit. And it feeds my soul to feel like things are possible, things can move, things can change, that I can change, that I can become. Notice the feelings in your heart. Notice the sensations in your body. Feel your heartbeat. Tune into your heartbeat. If you can't feel it, listen for it. Entering into this vast space within your spirit, within the vessel of your heart, where there is this endless possibility, where you ask the question, what does God want? And what a big answer there is to that. But even just asking the question opens you. And if you can continue, if you can follow where that leads to the eternal, to the endless, to the unlimited, and then to dive into that experience, let it open so far that there is no end to it. And that feeling of endless perfection takes us into that state of unity. There is no self, no other. There is only the one. And as we return to a place of our ordinary consciousness, perhaps we bring with us that sense of endless possibility, that new solutions may emerge as new energy emerges, as new spirit emerges. Make a spirit is endlessly creative, and there is always a way. Life finds a way, and may we find a way to create that world that we envision. Amen. When you're ready, you can begin to move and then your prayer there. Mm.
Thank you, Asatar.
Yeah, I feel like I just got off retreat with that one
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we sort of
Mm.
we didn't have a break in the meditation this time. We just went.
That was nice. I liked that.
We departed from our format a little bit.
Yeah.
'Cause here we had these stages. It was interesting.
Yeah, this was so much more profound than I realized it would be. It was just. I really
Thank you all.
appreciate that. Thank you so much, Asatar, for
Yeah,
guiding us through these stages.
thank you to everyone for being part of it. And I could feel the presence. Um, get everyone brought here, and so I see we have a bunch of comments that we haven't really addressed, but it's a tall order for you to work to take us there. Okay,
Mm.
we did.
He
We
likes
did it together.
he likes those kind of challenges.
Message you
Thank you,
both on
Tom.
Instagram. Yes, feel free to everyone.
Wonderful. Yeah, anytime.
If you have
Mm.
something you'd like to say or ask us, please feel free to reach out. We would love to know. Um, and if there's something we can address, we would love to be able to do that. So we'll be back next week. If you'd like to support the
Yes.
show, we have a link to the Patreon. And thank you
Mm.
so much for being with us.
Thank you, everyone. Mm.